Angry Joe, he's in Ohio. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Joe Vargas, he's still hot, he's still unhappy, and by hot, what I mean is, he's having a real bad day. Take a look at this. Joe says, it's truly funny watching Nerdrotic, the Critical Drinker, and all their buddies, we call them amigos, lose their crapola over this film daily. Talking about the Odyssey. Now disowning and dunking on their own fans and subs to avoid being associated with taking an L. Y'all were embarrassed by Nolan. It's time to move on to whining about the next woke film that will actually fail for other reasons that elude you. That'll work better than throwing fans under the bus. Promise. And you can see he's responding to Nerdrotic. We've got a response now from Critical Drinker. The drinker, Will, says, it's truly funny watching fat, embittered artards like Joe here, so desperate for a win in an endless ocean of losses that they'll blatantly make up things that never happened. Critical Drinker says, I've always said the Odyssey would make money regardless of the backlash. Guess what? I was right. You're trying to claim victory in a battle that only exists in your head. Now, surely, folks, we can say that, yes, the Odyssey is on the way to making money. It needs $750 million to clear into break-even status and beyond. Profit, they call it. And it is on its way to doing so. This film now has had only a 30% drop from the first weekend to the second weekend, and that is, frankly, just about unprecedented. So, Culture, you want to weigh in first on this one? Your thoughts on the infighting now, the battle? The wokies are trying to claim a big W on this, and Hollywood, you know, is going to be doing the same thing. And real quick, Culture, I'll bring this to your attention, and I've liked this one. Conman Lee says, the success of the Odyssey will be Hollywood's green light to go full throttle on woke. Woke isn't over. The right just enjoyed a brief taste of minor victories the past few years, then proceeded to devour itself with Egyptian plane conspiracies and pure retardation. Okay, so Culture, your thoughts on all of this over the Odyssey?
Well, one exception does not make a rule. What happens is if you go woke, you go broke, and the one exception to the rule may be the Odyssey. That's the truth. Also, I take umbrage at the $750 million break-even point.
Tell me why.
Well, because
I'm going to agree with you because you're right.
We know $1 deal for Nolan is a major factor in this film. 20% of the proceeds after $20 million go right into his pockets. Second, you also have the IMAX fee, which at a current 25 to 29% take, IMAX screens are taking about that much of the total box office dollars. They're going to take their gross cut right off the top as well. So the normal splits aren't going to apply here because there will be money deducted off the top before we even get to that.
But it's on its way to 1.2 billion. It's going to make money.
I'm not saying it won't make money. It will, but it's not going to make as much money. Christopher Nolan's going to make plenty of money, and is his wife, Emma. I always want to call her Emma Frost, but it's Emma something or another. Anyway.
I think it's also important to emphasize we're talking about 20% off the gross, not the net.
Right.
Which I think that's significant.
$1 gross deal. Yep.
So a couple of things about this. If this was a normal movie with normal ticket prices, not IMAX ticket prices, because IMAX raises it 50%. If this was normal, this film would be at about 500 million. And that would be nothing to sneeze at. That would be impressive. But because it has that IMAX situation, and I've called this a swan. You can call it a white swan. You can call it a black swan event. You figure out what that means. But the thing is, I don't think you can replicate this. And this is where the Angry Joes, I think, are going off the reservation, because this is a once in a lifetime kind of deal. It's got the division on the backlash because conservatives are attacking each other like crazy. That's driving the average person to say, okay, well, now I got to go see it to see what I think about it. You've got the fear of missing out because it's made for IMAX, and specifically a format that almost nobody's going to be able to see anyway. But they don't know that. The normies don't know 70 millimeter versus whatever else. So people are going to see this because they don't believe they can see it on their TV screens. And then it's Christopher Nolan. And then Christopher Nolan, I think, has said he's not going to make another movie for a number of years. So you got all this stuff coming together, Marv, and it's driving this thing forward in a way that, frankly, we've never seen before. A 30% drop for an IMAX. Essentially, that's the lead platform is the IMAX. A 30% drop. We've never seen this.
Yeah, I mean, we always knew this movie was going to make money. I don't think any of us have ever said that it was going to bomb.
None of us.
Yeah, maybe Culture, but
probably.
We all knew it was going to make money. It's a Christopher Nolan movie. They don't typically fail. the thing that's funny now is I think you said this is not something that can be repeated. I think Disney is trying to duplicate this right now because Avengers Doomsday tickets just went on sale. And I looked at my theater and my theater didn't have any showings. And so we went to the movies last night and I asked the manager at the theater, I said, hey, I didn't see any showings for Avengers Doomsday. Are you not getting it? And he said, well, the only tickets that are on sale right now are premium screens, Dolby 4DX and Infinity Vision.
But those still, Marv, I agree with you. Disney's trying to do it, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to ask this to you as you continue. That's still not IMAX, and that's still not IMAX prices. So
right, but Dolby
IMAX prices are.
Dolby has
is Dolby 25-ish?
I believe it's about the same. If I'm not, I might be mistaken on that, but I'm pretty sure it's comparable.
Because here's what Disney has to face, and I love that you're bringing this up.
4DX definitely is.
Disney must face Dune Part 3. They're determined to not move off that. Disney is trying to throw their weight, right? They're like a sumo trying to force everybody else out of the circle. And Disney is saying, we won't budge off this date, even though we're losing IMAX. Dune Part 3 will have every single IMAX screen.
Right. So now the thing about them doing what they've done now with only putting premium screens on sale is those are actually selling out. So now tickets that normally would have gone to normal showings are going to the premium screens where people are paying more. They're trying to pad this thing to try to have this Christopher Nolan type bump. I don't know if it's going to work for Doomsday. I will say that all of the premium screens that I looked at for the Regals in my area were almost all sold out.
Well, let me ask Lauren this. Lauren, if we go back to the Angry Joe quote he's got here, the post. A lot of the wokies, right? And folks, remember, we're careful when we say this. There's the right, there's the left, which I've got that flipped around on my hands because we're mirrored on the camera. But anyway, there's the right and the left, and there's the centrists. And that's all part of the traditional political sphere. And we need the left, we need the right, we need the middle, and everybody fights together and we get to a better place in society. Cool. The wokies are a different thing. Wokies are not the left, although they are often conflated with the left. But wokies, the woke are postmodern neo-Marxists. Marvin, hit the bell. Thank you so much. They are postmodern neo-Marxists. They believe in power over truth. They don't believe in truth at all. They believe in narrative. And they believe in oppressor classes and oppressed classes based on how you were born that you can never change and get out of. So, Lauren, those folks like Angry Joe, they're celebrating big time this film. And so whatever the right and the online right, whatever that is, however they want to frame this, this is seen as a huge victory by those in the woke camp. What do you think about that? And what do you think about them mocking, I suppose, channels like Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic? And they would try to mock us as well, but we got a pretty good track record, I would say, of calling this up until this past weekend.
Boy, I don't know how to comment on that because I've seen this as kind of the most fascinating movie release of this year.
Should they be celebrating?
Should they be celebrating?
Yeah. Well, do you think the woke should be celebrating or?
Well, from my standpoint, if the movie is profitable, then that is a victory for them. So I would not be surprised. I would expect them to celebrate, sure. Whether that celebration can hold out to a different movie, I think, is the question. I think part of the reason that they're getting a victory here is because it's a Christopher Nolan movie. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's Nolan. Marv, you thought something about that. What do you?
So I here's the thing. I can actually apply this situation to a personal situation.
Please.
So I'm on Geeks and Gamers Play Wednesday nights. We play Mario Kart all the time. I'm terrible at it, and I lose constantly. And
this is why they call you Mr. Blue Shell.
Right. We are constantly playing. We play several games a night. I lose every single time. I have won one race, and I celebrated that like there was no tomorrow. And that's what's happening right now with the wokies because of this movie. It's one that finally hit after dozens of movies that have fallen on their face.
Yeah, and it's like I understand they're celebrating this. I think they're going to try and use that to push as much as they can. I'm not sure it's replicatable. I'm still really fascinated that we haven't seen the drop on this movie like I thought we would. In that sense, I think that I've been surprised that the movie is doing better than I thought that it would. At least if you looked at the numbers without adjusting all of the ticket price and the IMAX stuff and all of that stuff. Compared to other movies, if they were on the same field, it's doing better than I expected. And I've been trying to think about what does that say about the audience? And I think part of it is that, again, it's Nolan fans is some of it. I think some of it is that maybe some people are not familiar with the Odyssey and are not aware of how it diverges from the text and are just interested in seeing it to see what it is. There's another bunch that are completely divorcing it from the text that are familiar with it and just see it as a movie and just want to go see a movie and be entertained and don't really care about the context. And so I think there's a number of different camps, but I do think this is sort of a fascinating box office result, especially when you look at the spread of how people are reviewing this thing. I think we're going to be looking back on this thing for a year or more, trying to figure out what all of this means. It's fascinating.
I think that the most relevant number is the one nobody's talking about, and that is the actual attendees, the butts in the seats, the things that we talk about regularly, because of the premium pricing and the average ticket price for these IMAX PLFs or any of these Dolby Laser or whatnot. Those are about $23, not counting the fees that are associated with them. So, on average, if you're charging $23 to $25 a ticket, your receipts, your gross receipts are going to be inflated. So it's kind of going to misrepresent, the common audience and only represent the premium film goers, which again, entertainment dollars are limited these days. So are people going to spend the extra money to see Spider-Man Brand New Day, or are they going to be willing to do as Marv suggests, that they're willing to spend more to go see the Doomsday mess?
The third weekend, the third weekend is going to be so fascinating because again, we're in unprecedented, uncharted territory.
Yeah,
I don't think they're okay. So think about it this way. There is only so much bandwidth. There are only so many people who are willing to go to movies. There's a cap on this. There's only so many people who are interested in going to movies will go to a theater, unless you have something like a Top Gun Maverick, which pulls non-traditional moviegoers to cinemas. Okay. This coming week, we are going to get Spider-Man Brand New Day. And if it pulls the numbers, they're saying that it's going to pull $200 million plus, not driven by IMAX, then you got to wonder, surely the Odyssey will have a huge drop-off, because how can it still have moviegoers? Everybody, to get to $200 million plus, everybody, and that's domestic, not global. They're talking about maybe a $500 million opening. So, but I'll tell you this, on another note, the winners of this year, and folks, hear me clearly on this one, and panel, feel free to weigh in. The shocking, surprising winners of this year, Tom Holland and Zendaya.
Yeah.
In the course of a month, they are going to be sitting on $2 billion in box office revenue. Zendaya is going to be in Dune Part 3. So toss her another $1 billion. And then Tom Holland, and maybe her as well, one might suspect, but definitely Tom Holland's going to be in Doomsday. So maybe toss another $1 billion their way. This is the power. He's going to be in it.
I don't know.
Luke says he's going to be in it. This is the power couple of Hollywood, even though we mock them, even though Zendaya. Marv, could you make the face that Zendaya makes in every movie, please? Do you have that? Yep, that's about right. That's about exactly right. Marv, you were the perfect person to go to on that. Despite all that, they're making money, baby. They're making money. Show me the money, and they're showing it. Everybody's in agreement. Nobody's going to disagree on that.
Yeah,
okay.
No, they are going to become the new Hollywood it couple, I think, which is hysterical because neither of them wants anything to do with the greater Hollywood.
Get out of here, T Swift.
Tom Holland has said repeatedly he wants nothing to do with Hollywood.
That actually works in their favor, I think.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to really want the limelight of the Hollywood media either. They had their wedding in secret. Nobody even knew that they were married. It's not like Taylor Swift, who rented out Madison Square Garden.
Get out of here, T Swift.
Yeah, I think the fact that they just kind of seem like normal people is going to work in their favor.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing on the Odyssey before we wrap this. This, I think, is part of what is driving that second weekend. because I think a lot of people had morbid curiosity. Dave Rubin, which this is an unfortunate freeze frame. I apologize, Dave. We didn't do this on purpose. Okay, there you go. Goes to see it, just like Ben Shapiro, raves about it. We've got friends who've done this. We've got friends who hate it. It's all good. But it's the comment section that he talks about that he's taking fire from the right that's so interesting to me. And I think this is part of what drove what we've seen, is people just saying, okay, I don't understand how we can have this gulf between the people I trust. I'm going to go see it and judge it for myself. Here's Dave Rubin.
I saw the Odyssey over the weekend. I'm going to just address this for 1 minute. I'm not going to give you any spoilers or anything, but if you do not want to hear anything about anything, you might want to mute for the next 60 seconds. But I'm not going to give any spoilers. I'm not going to say a word about the plot. I want to talk a little bit for a moment about the narrative around it, because, we covered, and everybody online was covering that there was going to be all this wokeness in the movie and the admittedly odd casting of Elliot Page, who was Ellen Page, beautiful young girl who Nolan had worked with in Inception, and she was in X-Men and a bunch of stuff. And then Lupita Nyong'o was in it, which was obviously miscast because the chances that back then, 3,000 plus years ago, although it is a fictitious story, that there would have been a black woman. There was all this stuff. And everybody, and what I said last week when we covered it was, you know what, I'm not going to get pre-outraged. I was curious about some of the casting for sure. And as it comes to anything that comes out of Hollywood, I'm always worried about the wokeness stuff. But I was like, I just didn't want to prejudge it. I just want to say one quick thing about the movie. It was spectacular. It really.
Okay. Now, what else is spectacular is Dave Rubin's hairline. I mean, look at that. That is, how can this be? It's impressive. All right, guys, but I saw it. I don't see how others didn't see it as woke. To me, it's obviously woke. Now, it's very masculine, but sprinkled in that masculinity is plenty of wokeness. And I think that the woke side has seen it that way. So final thoughts, guys. Did this effect of these commentators saying these sorts of things drive people to say, I got to see it for myself?
I don't think so. I think people will go to a spectacle movie, and this is intended to be a spectacle movie.
Of all the people you, sir, Lorne, you said to me, oh, well, now I got to go see it. I get this morbid curiosity because people say different things.
You'll note that I have not done so, though. I have decided I'm just going to wait for it to come out on streaming. I don't need to see it, but I am fascinated by the results. I am continually. This has been the most fascinating movie to me to watch. What is the audience doing? Because I don't fully understand it, and that is interesting to me. I think it says something. I'm just not 100% sure what it says yet.
Well, there's one person who knows. Angry Joe, he's in Ohio, did I say Dodo? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
The funny thing about him is that what he's reacting to is they were all sharing this clip from the Critical Drinker subreddit about somebody saying this movie wasn't going to succeed and pretending the Critical Drinker said it.
Oh, so straw man, perhaps?
Oh, yeah. And, it was Angry Joe did it and a whole bunch of others did it, and they were all sharing it. And everybody was like, Critical Drinker does not even have a Reddit account. And they're just,
Come on, Joe. Come on, Joe.
It wasn't Joe. It was, I forget who it was. Nerdrotic said it in the thing he's quoting. But, yeah, a bunch of people did that.
Get it right, Joe. One of the greatest things we get to do each and every day is speak out and reach out to folks who don't know how entertainment works. And frankly, we think entertainment matters so much. It's why we do what we do. And you can help us send this out to even more folks. Click that like button, share, subscribe, and drop a comment down below. And wouldn't you know it, folks, we're even on Patreon. It's www.patreon.com/WDWPro. We've got to go, but until the next time, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.